Welcome to Healthy South Jersey, the Centenarian Project, the podcast where we help you put more life in your years, not just more years in your life. I'm your host, Dr. Ken, a board-certified orthopedic specialist, physical therapist, CEO and owner of South Jersey Physiotherapy and Functional Wellness, right here in Marlton, New Jersey. So welcome, guys. I have a very special guest here. We have Dr. Dante Venuto. He is part of our STAR clinical staff here at South Jersey Physical Therapy and Functional Wellness. And thank you for joining us for today's podcast.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and joining in and giving us some viewpoints and thoughts of as a clinician that just graduated last year. You had many options, and we do have a good history behind us. I've known Dr. Dante for almost 10 years now.
9.
9 years?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Wow. And honestly, right, like I loved his character, I loved his energy, his work ethic was amazing. Just even as a high schooler that excelled in sports and excelled in academics. So I knew hard work was not an issue, right? But then now look at his overall physique, right? That's discipline and that's hard work and behind the scenes when people don't want to do anymore and you continue to consistently get better every single year. And I came back and I was like, wow, who are you? You come from teenager to a man. No, so I wanted to go back to last year when you were doing your clinical rounds and rotations last year, right? I know that you had many different experiences. So when you decided that, hey, it would probably be pretty cool to do an internship, your last clinical rotation here at South Jersey Physiotherapy, what were your initial thoughts and excitement around it, and then why did you want to come back and actually experience the deep, intricate treatment philosophies that we practice here?
Yeah. So I think the big thing is, like you had said, that I'd known you since I was in high school, and you treated me from 17 up. So coming back year after year through high school, through college, and then during grad school when I was doing my other clinical rotations, I was always there, but I was never there. Right. So I was always basically outside the door looking in. So it was awesome to finally, when you were able to put through and sign on to Scranton and ask us to be a clinical site, and I was able to basically get you as a clinical instructor. It was awesome to finally be immersed into it instead of just watching you treat, because it's totally different from just seeing it versus actually doing it. So I think the big thing for me was I didn't understand what I was not understanding or what I was getting myself into. And I knew it was one-on-one. Even the out-of-network part, I didn't truly understand the impact it made. So it wasn't until I was thrown into the deep end and you're like, all right, it's week 2, you have this person for an hour, I'll be over here, good luck. That I was like, all right, here we go. And so I think I was really excited to be able to take my time with learning, be able to see this one problem for the whole hour and solve it piece by piece. And then this problem presents itself a different way in another person, and so on and so forth. And getting to learn how you solve it, how Dr. Gina solves it, and then take what I've learned from my past and kind of blend it all together. It was night and day from my first and my second clinical experience. My first was at Cooper Hospital, so big major hospital system. My second was JAG Physical Therapy. I got to see a lot, which was great, but my depth of my learning was definitely limited, just because of the nature of what PT usually is, and in that fast pace and seeing 15 to 18 people a day, versus here where we're seeing at most, maybe on my really busy day, 8. And
Eight
that's
at most,
at
right?
8 at most,
Yeah.
and that's still not super common. So yeah, it was. I don't know if that was a long-winded answer, but
No.
I was excited. It was definitely eye-opening.
Not at all. And we're actually quite restrictive on who actually can come in that is in the right mindset, that's prepared mentally, that has an academic investment and ability to continue to learn. So that's why we never take students that are in their first or second or third clinical rotations. It has to be the end where you've had so much experience that you have a little bit of foundations. Because when you come into this facility, I tell the clinical directors that place new students here that I'm telling you, this is such a different place. We are absolutely not a traditional physical therapy practice. We've evolved into a wellness company that does things so much deeper now, right? And to Dante's credit, he was able to get through the clinical mentorship. And just as for reference, I've had over about a handful of students, and there was 2 students that literally one lasted 1 day, right? Their world turned upside down when they experienced what we did here. It was so out of the norm of what regular schooling, clinical decision making is here, that even though they were high on the academic scale, when they came to the real world and real applications, it was so far out of the box thinking on how we treat here that they were worried. Okay, and another student lasted 2 weeks, and she's like, what you're doing here is amazing, but I don't get what's going on. All right, so to Dr. Dante's credit, like, he was able to stick it out. And would you say that initially the experience was to your expectations, slightly different from what you were thinking that you were going to get into, or was it absolutely out of the water, totally different from what you expected coming in?
Almost that last one, basically, yeah. So
Okay.
I think that, like, because I'd seen you so much over the years, I wasn't, like, shell-shocked, but, like,
Yeah.
it still was. I remember learning that there was no treatment plan. Like, we're not writing down, we're going to do these 10 today, and then we're going to do them again and again and again. And I think that I was like, what do you mean? Like, how do we know what we're doing? It's like, well, we listen to the patient, we listen to their body, and we go from there. And I think that was hard. And then the other thing was just, like, the concepts themselves. So a lot of this, obviously schooling prepared me a lot, but at the same time, it prepared me to take my boards and pass my test. It didn't always prepare me for real life, which that's just the unfortunate part of schooling, is let's get that license. So yeah, you definitely opened my eyes to new conditions, strange conditions, and then a treatment style that I have never seen before.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, all transparency, I would say easily the first 6 weeks, it was like, all right, what am I looking at here,
Yeah.
right? And even
Yeah.
how to attack
I was
it.
going to say 7.
Okay.
It was a 14-week clinical.
Okay.
I remember halfway through,
Yeah.
I was like, I think I'm starting to understand it
Okay,
finally.
yeah, and this is a good friend that I've known for a while, where the family members, your mom, and everything has been through the system.
Yeah.
So you still have a little bit of history behind it, but still to see it behind the scenes, behind the curtains. The clinical aspect was a very different lens, especially blending in that Eastern medicine lens as well. It's just different, right?
It's different. And it's not bad. It's not a bad difference, is what I mean to say. It's different.
Yes.
And it's not what we're used to. But that's what makes us special. So
Yeah, and then as a well-rounded student, high academic achievements, and really bright, right? You literally had so many choices. You probably had tons of offers on your table, right? After experiencing the clinical world, like, what continued to keep our environment top of mind when you were deciding to work for a clinic that treated people, different types of conditions in people? What spoke to you that would advance your understanding of how the world really works and what type of deeper, more complex conditions that you thought that this was going to be your choice for employment?
Yeah. I think the two things that come to mind are quality of life for myself and like my work experience. And I'll touch on more of that soon.
Yes.
And then the fact that like I actually got to watch patients get better and it mattered that they got better. And I'm not saying that traditional PT doesn't care that people don't get better, but at the end of the day, it's all about numbers. And if you're not getting better, there's always going to be another patient being referred to the clinic.
Yes.
There's always going to be the insurance company that's going to be shelling out some money. And like that separation, that kind of arm's length away, we really don't have. Like we're literally up close and personal, but we also like, we understand what people are putting up front to support their own health. And that matters to us, that they're buying into to us, to our
Yes.
philosophies,
Yes.
and they trust us with getting better. And I think that spoke, because like, why else am I going into physical therapy and if it's not to like improve people's lives? And like it's like healthcare in general. It's service. It's service for others.
Yes.
And then the first piece I talked about was quality of life. Not being bombarded with even 2 patients at a time. Like I can actually think, I can actually help. Like I said earlier, the 8 patients at max, like that is a longer day, but like I have friends that are doing 18, and like that's insane. That's insane to me. So being able to set my schedule and take the time with each patient and everything that our company just encompasses, and I got to experience it during my clinical, and I knew from the get-go that I was like, I want to do this. I want to be here.
Amazing. Yeah. So coming from a very prominent orthopedic practice, right, and being in the system that was built by insurance companies, we had to adhere to that system. But I knew that there was going to be a deeper level of care and specialty. So that's why we created South Jersey Physical Therapy, right? So one thing that we claim to do is that we are the only holistic functional PT practice in this tri-state region, right? And we blend my Eastern medicine background with the functional medicine piece, right? One of our ladies said, like, I have back pain, low back pain, knee issues, ankle and neck pain, right? But I didn't think I was going to come here to address my pain, but my irritable bowel syndrome or my GERD will go away, right? So like, can you give us a little bit of kind of like your own perspective coming from like behind the curtains of like, did you even think conditions like osteoporosis and bone-on-bone joints and things like that is even remotely what we thought in the traditional medical sense even reversible, and of course we fix pain, right? But behind that there's so many systems behind it. And can you speak to just being an almost seasoned clinician now, seeing really complex patients with lupus and fibromyalgia and polyarthralgia and dysautonomia and gut issues and stuff, right? Like, did you ever think as a physical therapist that you would even encounter or even being able to affect any of those conditions while we treated chronic pain or multiple areas of pain and accelerated wear and tear on the body, like disc degeneration and osteoarthritis and things like that?
Yeah, definitely not is the short answer. I think in my head, like when as a student and stuff, like you hear that and you're like, well, that's too bad. I hope that gets better for you. And then
Exactly.
seeing it firsthand slowly like actually make a difference when you check out their 0A in the pelvic floor and you actually address these things that, again, like traditional PT places, one, don't have the knowledge but don't have the time to do.
True.
Though I just didn't expect such an interconnection to occur. I don't think I understood that creating when the body's in that chronic pain state and we start getting getting small and bearing down and gravity starts winning, that we're actually putting lots of stress on the internal system, and that hypoxic environment starts coming out.
There you go.
And how that lack of blood flow and oxygen to the organs creates more issues than we even imagined. And how simply releasing those tensions to allow the body to do what it's supposed to do, which is heal. Yes. I think I always come back to this really interesting childhood core memory. It was fourth grade, and it was the $1 Million Machine. And this machine, it was like a plastic robot that rolled up on stage and gave this whole speech. And it kept talking about this $1 Million Machine, and finally at the end he asked us, who do you think the $1 Million Machine is? And of course, being in fourth grade, we all pointed towards him and yelled, you, because he had described how it could repair itself, how it could move and grow and get stronger.
Yes.
And then he went, no, it's our bodies.
Whoa.
And that was like a really core memory that I think coming to our clinic and seeing how like you said, IBS, I think it's the biggest one I've noticed. Or even like my patient with POTS that's slowly improving. Like that's insane to say out loud. Or my patient who had the adrenal insufficiency, and that turned back on. Yes. Again, was it us? Was it the breathing? Who's to say? But listen, at the same time she was here, her adrenal glands turned back on. Yeah. So that's if it's a coincidence, it's the one I like. So
yes. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, Dr. Dante. So and then I think it was Harry, right? He was almost 90 years old. Did you work with Harry?
Yeah,
and
Harry.
He had kidney failure.
Yes.
So he came in with low back pain and hip pain, but the kidney doctor was perplexed at what was going on. So
yeah, he was at the very end of my clinical.
Yeah. So you know, like, it wasn't what we set out to do, right? But going through so many different types of philosophies, I saw commonalities and pattern recognition, right? And if something is true, it would happen to be able to be proven over and over and over in a certain condition as almost like a scientific study, right? And coming from an acupuncture lens, coming from a myofascial meridian lens, coming from a DO manipulation lens, right? And then actual, what we call, the neonatal milestones from DNS, from the Prague School of Rehabilitation. Everything actually made sense, but you had to look at it from all different lenses. So, I mean, like, some of our people had Barrett's esophagus for 20 years, right? And they got off their PPIs for proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux all these years, right? And it's gone away all of a sudden, right? But like in your tenure here now, right? Was there a patient who came in having been told that they had some condition that the doctors basically said that, you know what, this is just what it is, it's aging, you're gonna have to deal with it. And, you know, with our lens, were you able to look at it differently and for them to be able to overcome something that they had to, quote unquote, be told that they got to live with?
So we do hear that one a lot, is that it's part of aging and just deal with it. So that is a fun one to push back against because, like you just said, like time and time again, we've proven that that's not the case. I think the one that comes to mind is probably my patient, Tim, who had chronic knee arthritis, and it was bone on bone, and like you could hear the crunching, you could hear every time you put weight through it, and he was going to have a knee replacement. And through our foundational movements and through pumping the system and creating the compression forces, Tim was able to cancel his surgery and hasn't needed it since, and continues to regain his abilities. I think the big takeaway from Tim that was really interesting was we worked a lot on Tim's posture. And by the end, his wife actually came in and told me how much taller he seemed and how much like bigger. And so it was very interesting to see his knee improve as his posture got better. And I think that was a very like aha moment for me. It was like, wow, like look at this. Who would have guessed?
So crazy, right? Crazy, like how you needed to fix the core foundation system There's a concept in just fascial anatomy sciences. You reach a point of, in Chinese medicine as well, it's yin and yang balance, right? Fascial science, Buckminster Fuller said that the body can reach a even balance of something called tensegrity. And strangely, when you reach that, your body is literally at homeostasis. And that's what Tim experienced there.
Yeah, definitely.
But outside of that, right, other than having more time with clientele and being able to get to deep root issues and being able to address them completely, right? What's something that just being part of this team and like just the environment, right? Like, it is in our core values that we do hard things, right? But it's also, we have to be kind and it has to be fun. Right? So, like, can you speak to, like, just what it feels like here from the day-to-day and our team interactions, especially with our patients?
Definitely. It's cool that you said that, because I've actually had a few patients more recently talk about the culture that we have here and how much they enjoy just coming into the facility. I think, like, the big thing that I see currently from my friends to myself is the small business world versus the corporation, and, like how much more fun and like we can just be humans and we can relax. We don't have to be so worried about everything all the time, and we can just enjoy each other's company. We can laugh, we can poke fun, we can play little jokes on each other, like moving an entire coat rack around into people's different places. So I think we all bring our different quirks and our different, but we all bring the same energy. Everyone's pumped to be here, everyone's happy, everyone smiles, and everyone's a people person. That's fun.
So we know that, I don't know how much you believe it, but even talking to your plants, right? And how happy plants become. But like, we absolutely we're very serious about what we do. We are very serious about our outcomes. But growth and healing happens in a particular positive environment, right? And your mindset is a huge piece of that, right? We happen to be a wellness and longevity clinic, right? And we just happen to do physical therapy, right? So what does it mean to you that our tagline is that we put more life in your years and not just more years in your life? And that we're, that weird tagline of, 60 is the new 40. Like, do you see people just kind of like brighten up and liven up when they're all of a sudden what they're doing and what they thought was not possible and they've overcome has embodied that particular tagline? And give me your experience with
absolutely. I think because we see complex cases and we see especially a lot of chronic pain, I've noticed that patients don't even realize how much pain they're in until the pain's not there. And so it's so rewarding to hear. So simple. I dropped something and I picked it up and I didn't even think about it. Or I went down the steps and usually I'm doing 1 foot at a time and I went reciprocal, foot over foot, didn't think about it, and I wasn't in pain. Because like regaining function, like patients don't realize how much they've lost in their life and how much life has become a shell until it's brought back and we start slowly cracking that shell.
Amazing. Yeah. And then last question. Okay. So so someone's on the fence about coming to South Jersey Physical Therapy, right? And maybe a little bit skeptical about this whole functional wellness and functional medicine, Eastern medicine piece. What would you say to them that might resonate with them, just so that they're a little bit more comfortable and at least just checking us out? And exploring, like, maybe there's other possibilities. I always, like we say, I always tell people, go, if it's the finances that we're worried about, go try the in-network place. And when that doesn't work, we'll be here. I think the big thing is that it's an investment on your life, and like that's the biggest thing, is like it's your life. We got one of them. Regardless of what you believe, like, this is your life now, and it's time to enjoy every last bit of it. The world's a tough place, so let's bring a little joy to it. And I think the other thing is that I believe as time has come that people are more open to this concept. I think there's a stigma that comes with the word holistic.
but I promise we're not just waving our hands over you and going, you're better now. Like we're going to put in the work. And if you want to get better, you're going to have to put in the work. And that's what it's going to come down to. So just because, like you said, that we're a holistic company that just happens to do PT, that is our root that makes us better. So.
All right. Yeah. So Dr. Dante, thank you so much for giving insight of behind the scenes of what we do here.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
So, until next time, guys. So thank you for joining us today, and hope to see you in the next podcast.
Of course.
Thanks for tuning in to Healthy South Jersey. I'm Dr. Ken Cheng, signing out, and I'll see you in the next episode.